I'm just going to text, be a little more quiet. It means
She's got
quiet.
his direct.
Right. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Right.
We're ready.
Start broadcast.
Da-da-da!
Good evening and welcome to our 2015 Emirates Melbourne Cup preview. Unfortunately, our normal host Luke Helder cannot be here to do it as he's tired. That's the official excuse anyway. We are joined tonight not by the regulars, which are myself. Well, you are joined by myself, but you're not joined by Callum Medell, who's doing other things. But instead, we have managed to get out of retirement. Welcome back to Michael Andrews. Good evening, Michael.
Good evening, Adam. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And we are also very honoured to be joined by our special guest who joined us last year for our Melbourne Cup preview. A big welcome to Andrew Hawkins. Good evening, Andrew.
Oh, g'day. How are we?
I'm good.
Not as good as you. I think Luke's got no excuse then. Consider if he's tired, I think Andrew wins that prize.
Yeah, well, what time is it where you are right now, Andrew?
Okay, so it's 4 a.m. It's just gone 4 a.m. in Hong Kong. So
That's dedication, so...
yeah, well, it's the Melbourne Cup. It's a big time for me. So obviously I have to give it all I can.
It's a bit like I'd say in our country. So Melbourne Cup to you is probably like the Grand Nationalist to me, basically.
Basically, they're very comparable races, and well, except for think about the Melbourne Cup as the Grand National without the 40 jumps or the 30 jumps around it. Then you're sweet.
Yeah, that's perfect. We are going to go through each horse one by one. It's a bit like we do for the Grand National. We've also got a sweepstake, courtesy of Michael Andrews. Now, the question I've got for Michael, what's the prize?
Okay, well, like last year, we have a great array of prizes this year. So I'm starting off with a clementine, an EPO clementine.
Wow!
That one's
Can I win that? Can I win that clementine?
You can. You're part of it.
But can you send it to Hong Kong?
An empty can of Coors Light. I will pay for the postage.
Oh wow!
And this is the super duper prize.
Ooh.
My pinata.
No, that's definitely not being sent in the post to anyone. This isn't
That's an
even the
impressive
watershed.
pinata.
Yeah,
it's 8 o'clock. It's not the watershed yet. You meant to show that at the end of the show if you were gonna.
Oh yeah, I should have
waited. The viewers. Oh my word.
On a serious,
Wow.
On a serious note, it's a £5 free bet on a horse of your choice.
I'll add a fiver to that, so we'll make it a £10 free bet. So.
Do you want me to add a fiver? I don't know how much that is in Hong Kong dollars, but I'll just give you whatever.
Oh, fair enough. And a 15 quid free bet.
Or maybe I'll just go 5 Hong Kong dollars, which is probably like less than a quid, but that's okay.
We'll go with a £10 free bet then, and it will be given in cash. It won't be as a free bet with any certain bookmaker, so you feel you're free to do whatever you want with it. We're all in the sweepstake as well, and so if we win it, we keep the prize money. It's great. So to start with the Melbourne Cup, we're going to go to horse number 1, and as I was saying earlier, we've got a sweepstake. What we're going to do as well, because the video was so long last year, I'm going to pull out a name for... So, for example, Snow Sky, Michael's going to talk about him because is his main fancy, or one that he's most interested in. Andrew's going to talk about one later on, and I'm also going to talk about my own. So we've got 21 slips in here with all our names on. Michael's going to do the draw first for the first person to come out, and then I will do the draw for the second horse, which is the criteria. So, who's got Snow Sky?
Snow Sky is Johnny G88, which is Johnny Gatenby.
Ooh.
So, well done. Just to prove that.
There you go. Yeah, that's fine. And Michael, you're talking about Snow Sky, so what chance do you think he's got?
Well, obviously last year they had Protectionist at very, very big odds, and I'm not expecting to repeat that this year. But Snow Sky's actually drifted, so I backed him about 25s in June when I thought he's got a really good chance at this, and now he's drifted to 50, so I've topped up a bit with that. So I've got about maybe a 10 or 15 pounds on him as my biggest bet really, and I think that he follows quite a similar path to Protectionist. He was slowly brought along as a 3-year-old, as most of Michael Stout's horses were. Then there's a 4-year-old. He won a few runs early in his career, beat Brown Panther obviously at York, and then he went and won the Hardwick. Wasn't it a Royal Ascot? He's clearly an extremely classy horse, and he was tilted to, after he won the Hardwick, everyone was expecting better things from him. he hasn't been so good since when he ran at Ascot the time after in the King George, and then I'm not quite sure how to sum up his Caulfield Cup run. It was a bit flat, I think, perhaps, is the best way of suggesting it. But I think he's the perfect type of horse for an Australian 2 miles. He stays about 2,800, which is 1 mile 6, I think, in European English terms. And I think that's about enough to stay 2 miles, 2 miles, in fact, not 3 miles, 2 miles back in Australia, where it's kind of a shorter distance in Australia. So I think that'll give him much more speed over the distance. Also, the Caulfield Cup, I think he found everything happening a bit too quickly. Also like, I think Ryan could go on with him. I think he could lead and kind of kick, because he seems like the way he wins, especially at Ascot, at Royal Ascot, he kicked and they just couldn't catch up with him in time. I think if Ryan says go at the right point, they will really have to charge home and have to charge home fast. So yeah, I think Snow Sky is very much overpriced, especially considering Ryan Moore was aboard, last year's winner, champion jockey of the world elect, really. So yeah, my tip of the whole thing, despite being top weight, which I'm less of a fan of because I hate tipping top weights in handicaps, is Snow Sky.
He's an interesting horse. I do think at 50-1 he is overpriced. Andrew, do you have any comments on Snow Sky?
Only things I'd say is that for mine, I don't think he's got the turn of foot required, because I agree he'll be up on speed. I think that he is the type of horse that I think he will lead here, but I do think that Ryan, when he goes for him, I feel like they're going to be coming over the top of him. Look, I mean, staying is questionable. I do agree with what Michael's saying about horses in Australia. You tend to want a 1 mile 6 horse, a 1 mile 4, 1 mile 6 horse to run 2 miles in Australia. But I just feel like he's not going to be quick enough to be able to win.
Fair enough. We now move on to the second horse, which is the Globetrotting Criterion, who we saw at Royal Ascot and in the Juddmonte International. So, Michael, who's got Criterion?
Criterion is Hattie Fuller.
Hattie Fuller. And the person talking about Criterion is Andrew. So, what do you make of Criterion's chances?
Look, Criterion's obviously the class of the race for mine, of the Australians. He's been brilliant this season. You may not have seen the best at Royal Ascot, although for what he has achieved, that's good form for an Australian horse. Obviously, beaten 4 lengths by Golden Horn and Arabian Queen in the Juddmonte, beaten I think 4 or 5 lengths by Free Eagle and the Grey Gatsby in the Prince of Wales. Has gone back to Australia, has really found form. Won the Caulfield Stakes, was an unlucky second in the Cox Plate, even though he wouldn't have won. The big query is the trip for him. He's going up to 3,200 metres for the first time. He did win the Australian Derby over 2,400 metres, but for him, as with any derby, you don't necessarily need to stay the trip to be able to win it, and that's very true with Australian derbies. He was just the class of the race. Up to 2 miles is a big query, and I couldn't have him at 2 miles. But there have been other horses like him, like Saintly, for example, in '96, who were the class of the race and were able to race away from their rivals. So, look, he wouldn't completely surprise, but I couldn't have him.
Fair enough. Michael, do you have anything to add?
No, not really. It's the distance is a big question for me, and I don't know. It's for a lot of us. We saw him trailing home, didn't we? Against really good Group 1 horses. It doesn't leave a great image in our head. I think he's hard to warm to from European perspective as well.
Fair enough. We now go on to horse number 3, which is the favourite Fame Game for Zach Purton and Jositada Munakata. Have I got that right, Andrew?
You've got that right. That's actually pretty impressive. I'm really impressed there.
Well, he's the anti-post favourite since the Caulfield Cup, where he was given what can only be described as an interesting ride. So, Michael, who has got Fame Game?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot my role. Fame Game.
Oh, you've got one job, Michael.
I have one job.
One job.
Oh, it is in fact our very own Andrew Hawkins.
Oh!
Has the favourite.
You've got the favourite in the Melbourne Cup, and the person that's going to be talking about Fame Game is Michael.
This is not skewed in any way, I just want to say. The unindependent adjudicator is me. Fame Game. This horse is too short. completely too short. You should not be backing him anymore. Just if you have him anti-post, then you're in a great position. But otherwise, this horse is far too short for a handicap. Anything can happen. The way his running style as well is probably means he's going to meet trouble at some point. That is really dangerous for a horse of what is he, less than 3-1, I think? That's
72 is best.
He's under 3-1, yeah.
It's ridiculous. He's clearly a very talented horse. No questions about stamina. He was eye-catching in the way he finished in the Caulfield Cup. Yeah, he deserves to be favourite, but he doesn't deserve to be 3-1. I'd say 5-1 would have been a fair price, and I'd suggest you could even take that. But 3-1, not in this race at all, and he's definitely worth taking on. Like he could still go ahead and win, but 3-1 isn't a backable price anymore. I
understand that view. I mean, he does look relatively short, but that run in the Caulfield Cup caught many eyes. Just a quick question for Andrew: how happy are you that you've got Fame Game in the sweep?
I'm exactly of the same mindset as Michael. I think he's way too short. Look. Hey, you always got to be happy that you got the favourite, but personally, I just think he's too short. He's a deserved favourite, but I want to be betting against him. So look, I think I'll be happy to forego the £10 bet and hopefully win elsewhere.
Fair enough. Now we move on to horse number 4, a horse that me and Michael were familiar with last season. He was called Ivanhoe. He's now called our Ivanhoe. And he's now trained in Australia, and the Melbourne Cup has been the long-term target for him. He makes it here. Michael, who's got our Ivanhoe in this?
I think the Australians are far more predictable than their Hong Kong counterparts, shall we say. Just adding Auna or Mai or something in front, as opposed to the Hong Kong just going, yeah, I'm going to change it completely. You'll never know who this horse was before. Oh dear. Our Ivanhoe is me.
Oh, right.
There you go.
Well, I've been drawn out to talk about our Ivanhoe. Well, when we knew him in Germany, he was a decent horse, and he beat the world beaters at the Cedar Moon at Baden-Baden in September of last year. He then went to the Arc, and he ran below par behind Trev. His runs this year, in the early part of the Australian season, which is May and also September, he didn't run particularly well, but seems to have just been built up towards this race. And at his price, I think he's definitely got a claim. The only slight negative you could say is the trip, but I don't really see the trip being an issue for him. It's something you can question on, but at 20-1, he isn't the worst value, I don't think, in the race. There are horses further down the list that I think are much bigger prices and think are worth a couple of quid each way, but I wouldn't put you off our Ivanhoe. And he's an interesting horse. I mean, the only negative I do have is the draw. He's drawn 22, basically out in the car park, and you have to get across and get a position. But he's got the European speed to be able to quicken and potentially have a big chance in the race. So 20-1, you're taking a chance with the draw, but I think he could easily run into the frame. I don't see him winning the race, but I could easily see him placing. The next horse is Big Orange for Jamie Spencer and Michael Bell. He's a big price at 60-61. Michael, who've got him in the sweep?
Big Orange is Max Banner.
Oh, I don't think you're going to particularly like that.
No, sorry, Max. I know you did demand about a certain 5 horses, and I don't think you've done.
Well, if you demand 5 out of 24 and you get something else, well. And I have drawn my name out again to talk about this horse. It won't happen again, hopefully. I'll be drawing my name out for the next 8 to talk about them. But I will talk about Big Orange, who he was disappointing at the start of this season. He looked a really promising type at the end of last season when he won the Noel Merlis at Ascot. And he then stepped up on his early season form at Newmarket when he beat Second Step, who was a horse I had earmarked for this race, but unfortunately isn't here. He then stuck his neck out against Trip to Paris and Quest for More at Goodwood. He's got the perfect attitude. The only problem is, I don't think the conditions of the race will suit him. He's also drawn out in 23, and he will want to lead early on. So he's not a horse that I'd be inclined to back anyway, even at that big price. I mean, to us, he probably looks a really huge price, but the problem is, I think the conditions of the race, they will not suit him. He has to go forward, and from that wide draw, I think he's got an impossible task. Horse number 6 is a horse that we were familiar with in Hartnell, who used to be trained by Mark Johnson. He's now gone to Godolphin, trained by John O'Shea, ridden by James McDonald. He's 33-1. Michael, who's got Hartnell?
Darren Fleming.
Ooh, Papa Fleming. And the person that has got Hartnell is you, Michael.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, I've written in my my sum up another one of our captains. Sorry, I mean emigrated. Yeah, I actually quite like this horse. I remember he was part of the big stewards' inquiry of Royal Ascot of a couple of years back now. When I don't know what it was the Aidan O'Brien horse, Joseph O'Brien. I can't remember the big problem. But Harnell's done pretty well, and He's also done pretty well down under. Stamina isn't a question whatsoever. He's been brought pretty steady along into this with some pretty inconspicuous runs over shorter distances. Now gets up to what I think is about the right distance in Australia for him. And I'm not sure if he's quite as classy as some of these, but he's probably weighted at about the right weight to be competitive. So I think I'd give him an each way chance. I'm not quite sure what his price is, maybe about 20s, or is he bigger than that?
He's 33 to 1.
33 to 1, yeah. I don't think you should be too unhappy about getting him, in fairness. I think he's got a good chance. Pretty flexible in how he runs his races. So yeah, I think he's not something I'm going to be backing, but I wouldn't be that surprised to see him place.
Can I just say something quickly about him? Is that I'm convinced, having done the form thoroughly, that he's the best value in the race. A lot of Australians, like everyone in the UK, is saying he's going to stay. No problems with him staying. But everyone in Australia thinks that he doesn't stay. They saw his run in the Sydney Cup in the autumn. He ran fourth, he weakened, but he pulled up lame that day and he had a number of issues. So a lot of people in Australia think, no, he's not going to stay, which I think is wrong. He probably did struggle with the 2 miles at Royal Ascot when he ran in the Queen's Vase. But, you know, I think an Australian 2 miles is perfect. As Michael said, he's flexible with where he can run. He's had the perfect Melbourne Cup prep, building slowly. He's had 1 goal, and I think that 33 to 1 is a massive price. I think he's by far and away the best value in the race.
I'd agree with that to an extent. He's one that I could see easily finishing in the first 4. I think he does have a really big chance. The next horse we're going to go on to is Hoko Brave for Craig Williams and Yasutoshi Matsunanga. I nearly got it.
You got close. You got close. That one was close.
Trying to read out Japanese names and you've not practiced. Yeah. Hoko Brave. Michael, who's got him in the sweep?
Skeletor.
Skeletor, 1982. And the person talking about him is Andrew.
Okie dokie. Hoko Brave. Well, he's the only horse in the race not to have won a group or listed race. But he has been around the mark in a number of big Japanese races. He ran 3rd in the Tenno Show last year. He has run against Fame Game twice this season and has finished a comparable margin behind him both times. He was wide in the Caulfield Cup, but still sort of plugged away. I do know that a friend of mine who's a photographer down at Werribee, where the international horses are stationed, she has said that it was the best piece of work she's seen from a horse since Lord Kanaloa before the Hong Kong Sprint. And Lord Kanaloa obviously won the Hong Kong Sprint by 5 lengths in 2013. So the reports are good about his track work, but that's pretty much the only push I could give anyone. And for me, I don't think he can turn the tables on Fame Game, and really there's not a lot there. I think he's now an 8-year-old. He seems to be past his peak, so I'm happy not to be on Hoko Brave.
Fair enough. Just before we continue, if you're watching live and you've got any reaction to the horses you've got in the sweepstake, please tweet them in, as Max Banner has done. He's replied with, "My demands were not unreasonable. The horse who stuffed both Quest for More and Trip to Paris at Goodwood." Grr, he doesn't seem very happy with that. Okay, the next horse is a horse that me and Michael will be more familiar with, in Max Dynamite, for Frankie Dettori and Willie Mullins. Who's got him in the sweep?
Max Dynamite is now partnered with, I've forgotten her name, but it's Stovka 100.
Is that
Claudia or something?
Claudia, yeah, that's Claudia, yeah. What we'll do is we'll tweet them later. We'll tweet all of them. Are you?
Yeah.
Good job. That's what it is.
See, you have him around for a reason, surely.
He has one job and normally he fails to do it. So, I have been drawn to talk about Max Dynamite.
That's fitting.
He's an interesting contender for Willie Mullins, and I've been reading a lot about Rich Ritchie on his way down to Australia and about how they're going to accept him. Hang on a second. Andrew, you got any headphones?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, why?
Put them in.
Because
we can hear ourselves.
Okie dokie, hold on one sec.
Just give us a
Just
second.
carry
Keep
on.
going.
Okie dokie. Max Dynamite is an interesting contender for Willie Mullins, and I've been reading all about how the Australians are going to welcome Rich Ritchie. They'll probably think he's as mad as a hatter, so it'd be interesting to see him down under. His form on the flat, I'm pleased now that they've finally realised he's a flat horse, because I've never been convinced about him over hurdles, and it'd be interesting for a hurdler to go down under and win a Melbourne Cup with the ideas that many Australians have about jumps racing. We're not exactly fans of it, and I was reading Andrew's blog, and he was saying about how they see jumps racing as a second career over there, whereas over here it's similar to flat racing, and they're both equal status in what they do. His win last time out at York was seriously impressive, and he beat Mizzou by 4.5 lengths, and it was just one of those performances that blew you away. The improvement that Willie Mullins has got out of him is quite incredible, and he had listed form as a younger horse as well before he went hurdling. I think he does have a chance. The draw isn't really a concern. He's drawn 2. He can go and ride out handy. And I see him in the frame. He's not one that I'd see winning the race, but yeah, I could definitely see him placing. But I do think 10-1 as a price, I do think is skinny enough now. And we now move on to horse number 9, Red Cadeau. Gerard Mossing had done up the legend of the Melbourne Cup over the last couple of years. Will he place again? Let's see who's got him in the sweep.
That will be Derek Gamble Punt.
I would not be put off by that. You may not win,
Strange
but
name, isn't it? Quite iconic.
we love the name Derek Gamble Punt, and the person that's going to talk about him is Andrew.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm sorry, Michael. I can tell you really wanted him. Look, Red Cadeau. What can you say? Shadow King was a horse in the 1930s who had 6 runs in the Melbourne Cup, ran 2 seconds, 2/3, a 4th, and a 6th. Red Cadeau has become the modern day Shadow King, an incredible record. Has run obviously second 3 times and was an unlucky 8th at his other run. Absolutely loves the race. I think he just gets everything to suit. This year probably hasn't been quite the same. He went to Australia in the autumn this time, the Southern Hemisphere autumn. Ran 5th in the Australian Cup, 2,000 metres at Flemington. Went to Sydney and ran 2nd, a great run behind Criterion. Went to Hong Kong, or came to Hong Kong, and ran 2nd last behind Blazing Speed, and then 2 pretty lackluster runs, but you can't take his UK form at face value because obviously he improves lengths when he goes abroad. This is his swan song tour. They're planning for the Melbourne Cup and then the Hong Kong Vars to be his last 2 runs. So, look, I couldn't have him on his form this year. He's getting older. This is the toughest Melbourne Cup field he's faced. But if you're playing, win and place, or if you're playing each way, or you're playing, exotics, you've got to include Red Cadeau because you just know that you couldn't live with yourself if he's the one that screws you over. I still don't think he can win, but you can never doubt anything with him. And look, Ed Dunlop, fantastic trainer, a fantastic traveller of horses. So definitely some chance of running a place. I couldn't see him winning though.
If he places, he goes over the £5 million in prize money, which I just think is sensational for a horse of his calibre. Michael, I will let you speak about Red Cadeau because I know you've got a huge soft spot for him. So, what do you think he can do this year?
I can't believe I met him in 2013 when I went to Ed Dunlop's yard, and they said, "Oh yeah, probably his final year this year." What a load of waffle! What a horse! He's amazing to see what he's done, and also the fact that when you could look at it, this horse hasn't just touched the Europeans, but also the Australians. Where is there many horses that have got such a loving? All across the world, really. That's probably discount the Americas. They don't really quite know so much, and I don't think he's ever been over there. But yeah, I just think he's amazing, and yeah, like Andrew, I honestly think this is very, very competitive renewal this year, and I think Red Cadeau could struggle. But saying that, we've said that for years before as well, so who knows what can happen. One thing I would say is that, and I'd say this about Trip to Paris as well, is that we have got to remember now, because of Red Cadeau, isn't Ed Dunlop probably the most successful British trainer?
Well, with his record with his horses going abroad, he's got some record. And the next horse we're going to talk about, just quickly before we do, I do think Red Cadeau, if he finishes in the 4, it'd be incredible. And I think he can finish in the 4 again. It's just that he comes alive when he goes abroad. His runs over here, I mean, his last start was when he was third behind the world beater Agent Murphy at Newbury. And on that form, he'd probably win this. Joking. Agent Murphy, if he was here, he doesn't have a turn of foot, bless him. I love the horse, but I couldn't have had him in the Melbourne Cup. But Red Cadeau is just one that I can see running into a place. The next horse we're going to talk about, this is one I'm going to talk about because before his last start trip to Paris, I wouldn't have really considered him for it, but what he showed in the Caulfield Cup I think was sensational. So, Michael, who's got him in the sweep? And then I'll talk about him.
Liam Kenneford.
Oh, that's not a bad horse to have, Liam. Well, trip to Paris, he was an eye-catcher at the start of the season on his first run in March at Kempton. And I said to a couple of people, I said, as a horse to follow this season, he'll win a few handicaps. I did not expect him to win a Chester Cup, an Ascot Gold Cup, get done half a length in a Goodwood Cup, and now he's here second favourite in a Melbourne Cup. It's just incredible. His progression this season has been really impressive. He stays a trip, obviously, but he's a little deceptive. He's deceptive in the fact that he does have the speed as well. I mean, I didn't give him much chance at the Caulfield Cup. The first person I'll be free to admit, and I think Andrew will be another one that would admit, he didn't give him much chance in the Caulfield Cup. But the speed he used to finish that day behind Mongolian Khan, who sadly misses the race, I thought it was a really eye-catching effort, and he deserves to be second favourite for Melbourne Cup. I do think 7-1 for a win purpose, I do think he's slightly on the skinny side now. He was a much bigger price before the Caulfield Cup. But I can see him doing it. I mean, we've never won the Melbourne Cup. Well, we should have won it with Bauer. Poor Luca Kamani. It's just heartbreaking.
I backed Mewed, so I'm definitely not too upset.
Andrew's happy, but poor Luca on that occasion. But
well, to be fair, you probably should have won it with Red Cadeau in 2011 as well, really.
Mount Athos as well. Let's not talk about Mount Athos.
Yeah, let's not talk about Mount Athos.
Talking of Mount Athos, so he was happily retired earlier in the year, and he's living a happy retirement. I think a new establishment I was hearing about the other day, and I also saw a photograph of Purple Moon going at trick or treating. He was second in the race back in 2007. Lovely memories of him as well. But I honestly, if you'd have said to me a couple of weeks ago that I'd be putting Trip to Paris up to win a Melbourne Cup, I'd have probably laughed at you. But I really think he can win it. I think he's got a huge chance.
He's just so solid. Like, when you actually look at the form, like, he's done it. And he doesn't... And the one thing as well is that there's never too many excuses about him, like you saw in the Caulfield Cup. You can say that Fame Game made a lot of trouble, but Trip to Paris was quite far behind as well. But he has that kind of turn of foot that just goes, and when he's asked for it, he does it, and he's very simple. And I think that's one thing that is very much understated. He's not too showy, but he does everything he's asked of, and I think that's going to get him. I'd be very surprised if he's out of the places, to be honest.
His only bad effort came at York, and I can forgive that because there were horses at the Ebor meeting that just ran no races for whatsoever, and I think a little break will have freshened him up before going out to Melbourne as well. I could see him in a really big race, and if he won the race, it'd be some effort to win a Chester Cup, an Ascot Gold Cup, and a Melbourne Cup all in the same year. No horse I don't think will ever do it again. It's just incredible. What a horse he's been for connections this year, and he could even be in line for Horse of the Year, maybe. I know we've had Golden Horn, Muhara, and Solo, but he'd be a worthy candidate for that. I think Stayer of the Year would be more likely, but who knows? Number 11 is a horse that we were familiar with last season, Who Shot the Farmer, who was third behind Protectionist in last year's Melbourne Cup. Michael, who's got Who Shot the Barman?
Sporting Sam Can, so Sam.
Sam Boswell, that is. It's a better one than what he got in the Grand National. I think he got an outsider in the Grand National. And the person to talk about Who Shot the Barman is Michael.
Oh, okay. I haven't really done a very, very good preview of him, I have to admit. He finished third in last year's Cup, but he did get quite lucky. Like, the gaps really did appear at the right times. As to when it didn't appear for some people like Protectionist, like Ryan Moore was angling out for ages trying to get out. Who Shot the Barman just snuck up the inside, and then nothing really happened when he got to the final kind of 2 furlongs or something. He got there and then just stayed on. So what I worry about is actually obviously he stays the trip, no problem. But I worry if he actually has that turn of foot that's actually going to take him to the lead rather than just sitting in kind of behind. So I've just said pass because it's such a competitive renewal, and I think there are horses, especially European horses, who are 2,400, 2,800 meter runners, and this is an actual 3,200 meter runner who I think could find everything happening a bit too quick. Where, especially with horses that have turn of foot, I don't think he has that turn of foot in comparison. So personally, he's not one for me.
Fair enough. I did think he had each way claims on that run last year, and he carries less weight this year, but I do think he does have a task. Now, number 12 is a horse that me and Michael will be familiar with. It's Sky Hunter, who's had a really good campaign of it over the last 18 months. So, Michael, who's got Sky Hunter?
Oh, okay, yeah. I had one job, and I'm still doing it.
Come on, Michael.
Is Luke Elder 13, his actual mental age.
I thought he was younger than that. The person that's been picked out to talk about Sky Hunter is Andrew.
Oh, beautiful. Well, Sky Hunter, it looks like this has been a plan for quite some time. Obviously, his French 3-year-old form was quite strong, was transferred to Saeed bin Saror, and his first 2 runs last season for Saeed were terrible, were absolutely atrocious. But then he managed to find that form, obviously winning the Doonside Cup at Ayr, winning the St Simon's Stakes by, 9 lengths. And then this season, it just looks like it's been a one-track mind plan. He went to the Dubai City of Gold, won that quite comfortably, beat Sheikh Zayed Road, who's a fairly consistent yardstick. And then since then, obviously ran second to the Corsican in the Arc Trial. So to me, it looks like they've been preparing him for this. He looks the right type of horse for the race. I actually think he's the perfect style of horse. 12 furlong horse who looks like he wants a bit further, but has that lethal turn of foot over the 12 furlongs. I think the only thing is it's just so hard to line up where he stands, because in such a competitive renewal, he could run a really nice race and be 10th. He could run a really nice race and win. I think he's definitely some chance, but just given he's really the mystery runner. I'd probably say more a place chance, but I mean he's a big price. 40 to 1's a huge price about Sky Hunter. He's got quite a similar profile to some of their other place getters, horses like Give the Slip. So I'd say he's definitely in the mix somewhere. I just don't know whether that's in the mix to win or the mix to run top 10.
Fair enough. I know that one of the tweeters in, Will Kajani, aka KJ II, is quite sweet on Sky Hunter. So the next horse we've got is horse number 13, The Offer, for Damien Oliver and Gay Waterhouse. Michael.
Yeah, one-time favourite for the Melbourne, actually. And Sean Shrive.
Oh, I wonder what he'll make of that. And I have been drawn out to talk about The Offer. Now, we wind back to early 2014, and he was a very impressive horse in his wins. And in April, he won the Sydney Cup, and he became Antipo's favourite for this. And obviously, since then, he's had his issues, and his form has sort of tailed off since then. He did win last week over 12 furlongs, but the impression is I don't think he's at the same level as he was back in April 2014, and it will be a hell of a training performance by Gay Waterhouse to get him to come back to his former glories. So he's a horse I could easily pass over, so he's not one I particularly fancy. Andrew, do you have anything to add on him? Just he's a horse from obviously down your way, and I remember people being very sweet on him for a Melbourne Cup a long time ago.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, a couple of things that he's proven. I think he's better on with soft ground. He won the Sydney Cup on soft ground, and I think too he's a rung below them. He's been he hasn't been beaten far, but he always seems to find a few too good. His Bendigo Cup win was good, but against nothing major. So to be honest, I think The Offer's one you can throw in the bin pretty quickly.
Fair enough. Now the next horse is horse number 14, which is Grand Marshal. So Michael, who's got Grand Marshal?
Who is the unlucky one?
The
WAC 72. I forgot his name.
Fair enough. Well, you can tweet them and then you can find out. Andrew, you have been drawn out to talk about Grand Marshal.
I'm actually glad to hear that, because I actually don't think they're that unlucky at all. Grand Marshal's got some chance. Yeah, I know. I can tell you're like, wait, what?
the price is 50 to 1. I'm not going to doubt you.
No,
So.
Grand Marshal. Okay, Grand Marshal showed an incredible, well, not incredible, but it showed a real solid turn of foot to win the Sydney Cup earlier this year. He's a traditional, more of a traditional European stayer in that in Australia, in that they take time to reach their prep each, their goal each prep, and so for him, he seems to have he's had the one goal the whole way along, and his runs to prepare for it have actually been quite good. If you watch the Caulfield Cup, a lot of people were very keen on Who Shot the Barman's run in the Caulfield Cup when he was flying out wide, but Grand Marshal, who was on the inside, was finishing off just as strong and had to check off heels late, steady, and his run was just as good. Very much a traditional Caulfield Cup trial for the Melbourne Cup. It's going to be a big deal in Australia because the final Melbourne Cup ride of Jim Cassidy, who's one of our legendary jockeys, but also quite a controversial figure. He's ridden 2 Melbourne Cup winners. If you ever get a chance to watch them, they're masterclass in how to ride a Melbourne Cup. Kiwi in 1983, he came from last at the top of the straight to win, and Might and Power, he led all the way in 97. So.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. So if you ever get a chance to watch them, they're perfect. So, look, Jim Cassidy will be hoping to do a Kiwi on Grand Marshal, who'll be well back in the field. But if they go at a solid enough tempo up front, don't be surprised to see him running in the placings. He probably can't win, but he's the type who could easily sneak into the placings at big odds.
Fair enough. Well, if there's one for you at a big price, if you are inclined to go for something at bigger odds. Now, horse number 15 is Preferment for Hugh Bowman and Chris Waller. So, Michael, who's got that horse?
Preferment. I've always heard it as Preferment.
Preferment. Where are they?
I think the call is...
Battalion's returned. There we go. Well, Battalion is
Battalion. Grace Ombero, Richard Keogh.
Poor horse. Rest in peace, Grace Ombero. And Andrew, your name has come out again for Preferment.
Okay, well that's good. Preferment's my second pick overall, so I'm very happy to have him. Victoria Derby winner last season. Victoria Derby winners don't generally go on and win Melbourne Cups. Efficient did in 2007, but he was the first since Farlap in 1929, 1930. So it's rare, but he's always firstly it's been a strong 3-year-old crop. Mongolian Khan, Winks, Michael's favourite Winks. It's been a very strong 4-year-old crop. So, 3-year-old crop from last season. So, with him, he won the Victoria Derby, flew down the outside. He was a maiden, won it. Came back in the autumn, almost won the Rosehill Guineas over 2,000 metres, and then has won two group races at 2,000 metres this time in. He looks a stayer, but he's classy, and that's exactly what you need. He's got that real good balance of speed and stamina. Looks like he'll stay the trip. Look, I think he ticks all the boxes. His Cox Plate run was fine, perfect, just perfect blowout for this, and he is right in the mix. I think he's about 9 to 1, 10 to 1.
10 to 1 better.
Yeah, I think if you manage to, I think he'll probably drift because I think there's going to be a lot of interest in Fame Game, Trip to Paris, and also a couple of other fringe types. So I think he'll probably drift, and yeah, expect him to be flying home late.
Fair enough. Horse number 16 is a horse that I looked at and thought was overpriced in Quest for More for Damien Lane, who's having his first ride in a race, and for Roger Charlton. Michael, who's got Quest for More?
That is Jamie Brownlow, last year's winner.
Oh, it'd be great if you could do the double. He's still waiting for last year's prize, by the way. That cloudy lemonade bottle never made it to him. So I hope this year he can actually win a prize. And the person that's been drawn to talk about Quest for More, I have. Now, he's 100 to 1, and I don't get that in a way. I can understand why maybe on the basis of his last run, where it was a prep run and he was second last. But his form this year has been taken up to another level. He won at Goodwood over a mile and 6, and then he went out and won the Northumberland Plate where he beat Max Dynamite. And after that was second in a Goodwood Cup behind Big Orange. If Quest for More's 100 to 1, why is he so big compared to the likes of Max Dynamite and Trip to Paris? That 100 to 1 for me with Bet365, I think is definitely worth a few quid each way. Just on the basis that he could run a huge race. How's the 100 to 1? joke firm, joke firm, joke firm. Now, Bet365, that's the firm to go with. Any other firm that's 100 to 1, do not touch them with barge poles. But at 100 to 1, he shouldn't be that price. I think he does have a decent chance. My only slight concern is the draw again, but he can get across. He'll probably race more forward than others because he may not exactly have a kick as some of the others will in behind, but he's a tough, consistent horse who I think can easily run his race here. And the fact that he also missed the Ebor as well, he was going to carry top weight in that, but it missed out because of the ground. The ground wasn't right for him, so I think that was a wise decision on Roger Charlton's behalf. And I think everything looks in place. He may not be good enough to win the race, but at 100 to 1, 4 places, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think he could easily finish in the frame. So, and the 66 is for Sky Bet if you want 5 places. So that wouldn't be a bad bet, in my opinion.
What do you think about his Geelong run when he finished 16th or 17th?
To me, that was just the prep run for me. He'll be much happier in this style of race.
And it was a forgive run. He was wide. He pushed on. I mean, I don't think he's quite quick enough for Australian conditions. But that run you kind of have to push out anyway because it was just there was nothing went right.
I just think it was also as well. It was a prep for this as well, just to get him out, get a run into him. And I think he can go really well at a big price. It's probably one of those like Opinion last year that I thought was a huge price, and he ran all right. If he finished in the frame, I wouldn't be shocked. We'll put it that way. And I think a couple of quid each way at 100 is well worth a go. We now move on to horse number 17. Now, I don't need to draw a name out of the hat for this because Andrew Hawkins fancies this horse like mad. Al Moonquist for Dwayne Dunn, David Hayes and Tom Davenig. Michael.
You got it right. Wow.
Herridge.
Jason Herridge. Well, that's a lot better than what you got in the Grand National, my friend. He got the same horse twice that had no chance. So Jason Herridge, you've got Al Moonquist. So Andrew's very, very keen on this horse. So you may be winning a £10 free bet.
Well, let's hope he is. Seriously, let's hope he is. No, so Al Moonquist was trained by Mike de Kock. Came through Dubai handicaps. Started his career in France, then went to Dubai for de Kock. Managed to get up to the stage where he won the Nat Al Sheba Trophy earlier this year. Ran 6th behind Brown Panther, bless his soul, in the Dubai Gold Cup when Brown Panther dominated from the front, nothing else could make ground. So you really have to shaft that run when considering him at 2 miles. This prep, he's been switched to David Hayes and Tom Dabenik in Australia. Their property in Ural, which is just like a gold mine at the moment, just producing winner after winner after winner. He came along quite slowly. He produced the fastest final sectionals in his naturalism run. He went to Sydney for the Metropolitan and got way too far out of his ground. It was pretty on pace, dominated behind Magic Hurricane. Then last time in the Geelong Cup, James McDonald rode him. He settled him further forward, and he won in the style of a Melbourne Cup winner. He absolutely blitzed them, beat a good yardstick in Dandino, and just blitzed his rivals. It was perfect. The perfect prep you want to see for a Melbourne Cup. I'm not personally convinced that the Caulfield Cup form is the form for the Melbourne Cup. I mean, the market says it is, but for me, I'd prefer to be on some of these horses coming from other prep races, and I think that the way that Al Moonquist won the Geelong Cup was better than Dunedin, better than American, and both of them went on to win the Melbourne Cup. So for me, Al Moonquist is the one I want to have on top. I mean, last time I saw, I think he's 14 to 1, 16 to 1, which is a massive, massive price. Shouldn't be anywhere near that. I saw one firm was offering 20 to 1 yesterday, which is absurd. So for me, he should be single figures and just get on.
You can't say fairer than that. He's telling you to get on. Listen to Andrew. He knows what he's talking about. The next horse is horse number 18, which is Kingfisher. The first time Aidan O'Brien's had a runner in the Melbourne Cup since 2007, and that controversial race with Marler and co. Michael, who's got Kingfisher?
Kingfisher is Edward Hardy, also known as Nedward.
Oh. And the person that's going to talk about Kingfisher is Andrew.
Oh, here we go. Okay, Kingfisher. I know quite a few people are keen on him. I know that price-wise, put up Kingfisher and had been spruiking Kingfisher for a while. But I just cannot see him winning a Melbourne Cup. Was unlucky in the Ascot Gold Cup behind Trip to Paris. Probably should have gone close to winning. But again, as Michael said, some of these horses have excuses, and Trip to Paris doesn't find them. Apart from that, his season's been pretty average. He won the Savile Beg, which was a nothing race when you're talking Melbourne Cups. And then at his last two, he's been well beaten by Order of St George. The first one I could sort of forgive because it was wet ground, and he's a duffer on wet tracks. Second one, the Iris and Ledger, he was beaten out of sight. Not the sort of run you'd want to be going into a Melbourne Cup off. Just for mine, I think he's just not good enough, and I couldn't see him winning a Melbourne Cup. And I think Aidan O'Brien's got a better chance in the race, and I think that Lloyd Williams, the owner, has a number of better chances in the race. So, no, not for me.
Fair enough. Now, horse number 19 is one of the rank outsiders in Prince of Penzance. So, Michael, who's got Prince of Penzance?
Well, I have to talk about it. I bet it's me. I haven't talked about a horse for about 5. So
Yeah, I know, you haven't listened to me blather on.
TJ, unlucky.
Oh dear. And actually, you were right, Michael. The person's name that come out the mug is Michael.
Yay! Oh, isn't this a happy occasion? Do you want to read my notes? My notes are the first one that you can skim over fairly swiftly. No idea about the distance. He's never been further than 2,500. And I think he's a class below quite a few of these. Obviously, if you count straight on, between he was only beaten half a length by the United States, but the United States. Prince of Penzance had the run of the race and was nabbed close to the line, but the United States was basically easing down, just gliding past him at the line. And that horse is obviously going to have to. Improve to do anything in the Melbourne Cup. So if Prince of Penzance is already steady and the United States is already going past it, then in my opinion, there's very little to say about Prince of Penzance. And unfortunately, TJ, I don't think he's got much hope. But he might have something to say about the race because he's probably going to be prominent, so that could be interesting. That could have effects on other horses running. So he's still a runner.
Before we go on to horse number 20, Max Banner sent in a tweet saying, "I hope Adam the Bully Webb has to preview the Ballydoyle horses." Well, you're about to get your wish with this next horse because I've pulled my name out for Bondi Beach. Just like to know, I am not a bully. I am a very nice, friendly person. Michael, who's got Bondi Beach?
By the way, I have some stats about Bondi Beach when you finish that are quite interesting.
I'll let you reel off your stats first, and then I'll give what I think.
Oh, Bondi Beach is a certain Scouser.
Oh no! I don't like Bondi Beach. I know there are a lot of people that are keen on him, but I don't like him. Michael, give us your stats.
Well, I was tasked to do this by my boss. With the exception of the Prix Kerguelen, Bondi Beach has actually run in 2 of the best trials, the two best European trials. Prix Kerguelen miles ahead with 3 winners, I think, Dunedin, Americana, and Perfectionist. Yeah. But Bondi Beach has run in the Geoffrey Freer, 3 places from 7 runners, which is pretty good strike weight from a place perspective. And the St. Ledger produced Media Puzzle back in 2002, I think, and another placer as well. However, those are my stats. I'll let you talk about him. I'm just questioning his attitude.
Well, he's very lightly raced. He does look to have the profile for a Melbourne Cup horse, but my concern with him, and it came about in the Ledger mainly, I just don't think his attitude, he's not got the 100% attitude you want. He could easily place. I don't see him winning the race, but he will need a really good ride from Brett Pebble to get him to win the race. I mean, in the Ledger, I personally thought, and it is a very controversial topic, but I thought he had every chance to go by Simple Verse, and he just wouldn't go past. And he's one I just can't have. What is there a stat about his draw as well? I'm sure I was reading one that no
horse has ever won from gate 18. It's the only gate that has never produced a winner.
Wow. Well, there is
always going to be a first. I will say quickly about Bondi Beach. He is the most lightly raced horse to tackle the race in recent years. There's only been in the last 25 years 2 horses have tackled it with 7 starts, and both of them ran a place actually. Marla in 2007 and Nothing Like a Day in 1995. But Yeah, I just look. I think Bondi Beach has some chance. I think Brett Preble's the right rider for him because Brett Preble's got is really, really. He stands over his horse. He gets a lot out of him. He's a really tough rider. If you ever get a chance to watch Hong Kong racing, Class 5s where you get horses that just don't try, he manages to get these things home. So he's the right rider for Bondi Beach. Just obviously, I think there are concerns there about how genuine he is, and that's probably his biggest test.
That's the major problem I've got with him. I've seen him running a big race, and he does have the profile, but his attitude. If he can get him up on the line, then that'd be brilliant. But I don't think I'm going to be winning that £10 free bet. Number 21 is the 200 to 1 outsider Sartorius for Craig Newitt and Jamie Edwards. Michael, there are four names left in
this horse as well.
Well, let's see. I'm going to pull a name out.
No notes on this one. I just said next.
Well, you can say that if you want, because your name's come out. So
it's not John Richardson. That's the
James, isn't it?
James.
John Richardson. I was going to say, what? We've got celebrity in the panel. So, Michael, what do you have to say about Sartorius?
I have legitimatly put I've just written next. Like I can't even remember what my research is about, but this horse is just not very good, and he's out of him and Prince of Penzance, I think he's probably worse. Prince of Penzance, at least, isn't a donkey. No, I'm being harsh in fairness. Let me just get a little bit of research up so I can actually talk
Andrew,
little bit.
Do you have anything to add about Sartorius, or do you think Michael talk his sense?
I'll talk quickly. As quickly as I can. But Michael, Sartorius, look, he's not that bad a horse. He's been Group 1 placed between 1,400 metres and 3,200 metres, so he's versatile. He's not good enough for a Melbourne Cup, but he's a horse you'd love to own. He's past his peak. If he'd run in this 2 years ago, he could have run top 10, but the way he's going now, he's getting a long way back in his races. It's just an turn of foot to match them. So he's the outsider, and justly so.
Okay, now horse number 22 is not the country, but it is the United States. The Joe Moreira and Robert Hickmott. Michael, who's got the United States?
We only have a couple left. I don't know who. There's a few people left. Oh, Maddie. Maddie has the United States.
Well, she won the Sweep 2 years ago, and with Fiorenti. So, Michael, you've got the United States.
Okay, well, considering I had Prince of Penzance, that makes sense. I agree with Andrew, is that Bondi Beach is probably the most unexposed horse, but could you say that the United States is possibly the most steadily brought along one out of all of them?
I agree with that.
He's been kept, he's really been kept pretty quiet, and then he shot himself into the Melbourne Cup picture with the Moonee Valley Cup win. I'm sure Andrew can come talk about the fact that Moonee Valley Cup I don't think is very much a usual or a typical Melbourne Cup trial, but he did break the track record that time. They were well strung out apart from him and Prince of Penzance. He won it eased down. Once he got there, he just glided to the finish. I think he'll appreciate the step up in trip, and you can't discount him because he's obviously he's progressing steadily. But I don't know if he's going to progress enough in time for this on Tuesday. That would be my worry.
Fair enough. Horse number 23 is a horse that me and Michael have been familiar with in the past in Excess Knowledge for Gay Waterhouse and Kerry McAvoy, who scraped into the race at the weekend when winning on Saturday. Michael, who's got Excess Knowledge?
Oh, only two left then, is it? I can't remember who's left. Oh, Callum's. We haven't drawn.
Yeah, Callum's still in there. Yeah.
Well, this might be Callum. It is indeed. Callum gets Excess Knowledge.
I wonder what he'll make of that. Now, there's two names left. I'll pick one out. And I have got Excess Knowledge. Now, when he raced in England, he wasn't exactly a horse that I was particularly keen on. I mean, he went for the St Ledger, and I wasn't keen on him that day, and he disappointed behind leading light, but obviously would have had his excuses. He only had one run. Well, he had 2 runs in the season last in Australia, but he seems to be a horse that's had his problems, and this, I think, will be another one for Gay Waterhouse. If she can get this horse to win, I think it will be a hell of a training performance. He wasn't going to get into the race on the basis of his second behind Amrada at Caulfield, but he got in on Saturday at Clementon in the Lexus Stakes. He only just won. I personally think he'd be one that would come up short. He could easily run into a place, but I think he'd come up short, and plus, I know in Australia you can have horses that can replicate runs off such a short, 72 hours basically, but he's just one that I wouldn't exactly be confident on. And the last horse is Gust of Wind. Michael, who's got the final horse?
The final person, who I have no idea who it is R. Stewart 01, who I've forgotten.
Richie Stewart, I think that is.
Yeah,
I recognise the handle. And Michael, it's the last horse, and it's yours to talk about.
It's the only mare of the field. She was kind of helped very much by her prominent position in the Caulfield Cup. So you kind of saw that she was. I was like, oh, where did that horse come from? So I rewound it and I was like, hang on a sec, that horse came from sitting behind the leaders anyway, and kept sitting behind the leaders. And then suddenly, when they all quickened, she kind of hit a flat spot and then stayed on again and made it look as though she was staying off in the back of the field. She didn't actually really do that much in comparison to a lot of horses coming from behind. I think she'll stay. She's got a featherweight on her back, but I think she's just not good enough, personally. So yeah, I'd be quite happy to pass over her from some of the previous horses we've talked about. But yeah, that's it.
Fair enough. Now, we've covered all 24 horses. This is your last chance now to send in your tweets of any questions, any fancies for the Melbourne Cup. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask these two and myself, well, I'll let one of them two go first. We're going to give you our 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll start with Andrew. Give us the 1, 2, 3, 4 in the Melbourne Cup.
Okay, I've got our Moonkith on top.
Okay.
Very keen. Preferment second.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the horse you're not too keen on, but Bondi Beach, I think, right profile. Again, maybe just for the placings, but I think he's got the right profile. So Bondi Beach third, Hartnell fourth. I think Fame Game is the one out of those that you probably want to have in there, but too short, so have to oppose him.
Okay, Michael, your 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. By the way, I have been getting some of the responses tweeted to me rather than on the other hoof, Adam. So you might want me to read them out.
You can read them out in a second. Yeah, we'll do. Give us your 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll give mine, and then we'll get reaction, and then I'll get some tweets.
Yeah. So Snow Sky. I'm hesitant of putting him in front of Trip to Paris, but I've been committed to Snow Sky for a while, so I'm going to stick with that. Trip to Paris second, third Bondi Beach, and fourth Hartnell.
Fair enough. Well, my idea of the winner's Trip to Paris. In second, I'll put Hartnell. I will put Red Cadeau third, and I will say Max Dynamite will be fourth. But if you're going to bet 5 places, I'll stick Western Moor for fifth. I'd love to see him place such a consistent horse. So, Michael, what reaction have we had?
So Key J, who got Prince of Penzance, says he's got more chance of being elected Mayor of Penzance. No, it's probably the best. Is probably the best response. Luke tweeted in because he's being a lazy crap. He said he got Sky Hunter, and he goes less than ideal, which I think is unfair. I think
I agree with that.
Horrible. And then the whack, Mark said he thought he'd got Preferment, but instead he's got whichever one he's got. So I think he's okay, happy. And the guy that did get Preferment, Richard Keogh, said that he doesn't know much about Preferment's form, but he does like his sire's deal, so that's not bad.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Now, I'm going to go scroll through the tweets and read out any questions we've got or any particular things. So the first tweet we had was from Chris Heath, who gave us Max Dynamite and Kingfisher, and he said he wouldn't dismiss the Chris Waller runners, though. So good luck with those, Chris. Key J the second comes in with a question. He says, which of the recent trials, Caulfield Cup apart, is the best to you? I'll ask Andrew that first.
For me, I think the Geelong Cup. Obviously, I've got our Moonkith on top, so I think the Geelong Cup's the trial you want to be focusing on. I think the Herbert Power was the other one. I really liked Umbrella. Obviously, didn't get a run. Excess Knowledge was second there, so I'd say they're the two outside of the Caulfield Cup that you want to be looking at. The Cox Plate as well, but you can't really consider the Cox Plate as a trial. It was more of a blowout. I think the horses that ran there are going to run well in the Melbourne Cup, but it wasn't so much a trial as it was a exhibition gallop.
I was going to say, if KJ just said which of the recent trials is best to you, I would have just said the Caulfield Cup, then this is apart. I agree with you on the Cox Plate. I do think it's one of those that is just a blowout, and it's for them real mile and a quarter horses like Winks, A-Rod, Highland Reels. Yeah. So, yeah. Interesting. Michael, do you have any preference for trial or
No, well, I think that the Cox Plate is an amazing race personally, and I think Winx is the queen of the Southern Hemisphere. No, that horse is a very special horse. I must admit, like last year, obviously the Herbert Power produced Protectionist. I think the Caulfield Cup has got a lot of strength in depth. I think there was a lot of the horses that we're all talking about running the Caulfield Cup. So I think you can't. I understand that Andrew's got preferences for others, but like one horse or a couple of horses in other races, but in the Caulfield Cup, that's the bulk of this field you've got to consider. So I think, obviously, the Caulfield Cup has got most of the runners, and as a percentage call, you'd expect you to produce the winner. But yeah, I stick with the Caulfield Cup, but I can understand the reason behind others.
Now, Simon Whittaker, who is asked a different question, nothing to do with the Melbourne Cup. So this may test your brains here, but who do you fancy for the Holden Gold Cup? Now, I know what answer he's looking for, but unfortunately, the answer he's looking for, I think will need the room, which is Vibrato Valtat. The horse I like in the race, if I'm honest, is Court Minstrel, because he's coming here having had runs. He's in really decent form, and this looks an ideal race for him. The only slight concern is soft ground. Just as long as it dries out a little bit, I think he'd have a big chance. Have you got any opinions on the Holden Gold Cup? By the way, Simon Six not running.
I have absolutely no opinion on the Holden Gold Cup. Do you even know where that is, Andrew, by the way?
No.
It's from Exeter.
Got it.
Oh, Exeter. Well, I do know where Exeter is. So
KJ lives there, so.
Oh, hi, William, if you're listening.
I will be. He'll be watching. Sorry, Simon. Vibrato Valtat, he'll need the run. He'll come on for it and should have a successful season. Candice Hare has got in touch. Or Candice Hare, not Candice. I'm not sorry.
She will kill you for doing that.
Sorry, Candice.
She go at me when I did that.
I'm going to say this right now. Blame that Emmett Kennedy. He's got me.
Yeah.
He's got it. Well, I also blame Jason Weaver and Luke Harvey because they've been calling you Candice.
Oh, don't.
Candice, I'm very sorry.
It's Candice. Come on, Candice.
I'm very sorry. She tweets in saying, if Big Orange runs last, a Clementine as a prize will be sadly ironic, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. So if Big Orange finishes last, whoever's got him in the sweep should get that as a prize. Who got Big Orange? Was it Jamie Brownlow?
No, it wasn't it Max Banner, I think.
Oh, it was Max Banner, there we go. So if Big Orange finishes last, that Clementine's on its way to you, my friend. That's his tweet from earlier where he says about his demands were not unreasonable. Candice then says it's glad to see that we're all talking at Partnell. Been saying on here for a long time, this is the race where we'll see him at his best. I wouldn't disagree with that. We've already read that out. Jamie Brownlow was happy with his horse that he got in a sweepstake. Who did he get again?
Who, Jamie Brownlow?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I tweeted him, he said no. Let me check. I think he got something towards the end, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But he was happy with his selection.
He got Quest for More.
Quest for More. Well, he's happy with that. I'm happy. I'd have been happy with that. Instead, I got Bondi Beach, which was one I didn't want. Tom Lee, not the Channel 4 Tom Lee, but Tom Lee, who I don't think lives far from where I do. He's tweeted in saying snow sky each way, hashtag the more factor. I do agree with Michael that 50 to 1 is a very big price for a horse with his profile. And
actually, I really haven't done that yet.
You better go back him at 50 to 1, because otherwise you'll be
win at 50 to 1, but I haven't actually done anything each way. So I need.
Yeah, you better back him each way, because you'll be kicking yourself if he finishes second. Chris Eve gets back in touch to say that Almondcliff is 20 to 1 with Betfair. I think that'll either be the exchanges or the sportsbook, but
I don't think it's. I don't think he's 20. He's on the exchange. I think last time I saw he was 15 to back, 17 to lay on the exchange. So, yeah, I'm guessing the sportsbook might be larger, but which would be odd, really odd. You get all arbs all over the place, but yeah,
and
who knows?
Our final question then comes from KJ II again, who then says, what distance should a European raider excel at to be ideal for a Melbourne Cup? And I'll aim that one at Andrew first.
Personally, I think you want it's 2,400 metres, 2,800 metre horse, so 12 to 14 furlongs, ideally. But, it's weird. Sometimes you see horses that excel at 2 miles in Europe, go to Australia and fly over a mile. Sometimes you see horses that excel over a mile in Europe and then go to Australia and be 2 miles. There's no science to it. It's for some reason some horses just click and some horses just don't.
Fair enough. Neil Watson actually answered the question. Watty Racing answered the question for KJ. He says, I've always believed the Group 2 horse between 1.25 miles and 1.5 miles is an ideal cup horse. completely disagree with that. Although this year I do like stayers, they've got a turn of foot, like Trip to Paris has shown. He has won over a mile and a half in this country, admittedly in a lower grade, but I still think he'll have the sufficient speed for it on Tuesday. And Max Banner, with the final tweet of the evening, I look forward to my citric treat. So yeah, that's an interesting way to end it on. Thank you very much for watching our 2015 Emirates Melbourne Cup preview. I'd like to thank our guests, who we're not going to see for a long time now. I think next time we'll see Michael will be at Christmas when we do our Boxing Day preview on our Secret Santa.
Probably whenever I appear. But it's been really fun again. I missed doing it because I don't think I've been on. We work out lock-ins May time then. So
you're way too busy. Clearly.
There's definitely an ongoing joke that me and Andrew are on as often as each other, even though I'm actually part of it.
Actually, I have one question for Michael. Because you missed the National Hunt preview, do you have any horses for us to follow over the coming season? Yours?
You know the two that I'm going to say. Well, actually three. Well, no, four in fact. We'll go with two. One's obviously Balthazar King, because he should be back in training, hopefully.
Cross country is the plan. Hopefully he wins it.
And I'm going to be at Cheltenham, and I will probably cry if he wins. So that's going to be very unprofessional of me. The other one that's obvious is Coney Gray, who I absolutely adore, and I'm so excited to see that one. I think that could be Denman's Hennessy. That could be a repeat of Denman's Hennessy if Coney Gray goes there. I think that he will pummel them to the ground. Then the slightly more obvious in My Tent or Yours, who's back this year. Worryingly, God knows what he's going to be like, but he seems. I saw some people have sent me some pictures today, thanks to Jane Rainey, Rowan there as well. They've sent me some pictures. He looks all right. He looks very happy within himself. And the other one is the one that you stole off me, Adam, because we were both there that day, and won the same bumper as my 4 years ago. Is Choco Walker. He was training with Nicky Henderson.
I did not steal her from you. We both agreed that she was a decent filly, and I told you she'd run in the Aintree Bears bumper. We've had one more question whilst I asked you for, and I'll ask this. This is aimed at Andrew. This is from Jamie Brownlow, so thank you for this, Jamie. Could you ask Andrew, would the ground suit Trip to Paris and Quest for More, will it be good ground?
It's going to be good ground. They were expecting potentially a little bit of rain, but it's going to be good ground. It's going to be fair surface. It's not going to be ridiculously firm, but it's not going to be have much give underfoot. It's going to be just the perfect racing surface.
So no excuses ground then for any contender.
No excuses for any contender. I think maybe a horse like Max Dynamite would probably be better if there wasn't given the ground. Same with a horse like Grand Marshal, but really, I think most horses are going to get their opportunity.
Excellent. So thank you again to Michael, and thank you for your horses to follow, even though they are a bit late. And we'd also, again, extend our big thank you to Andrew for joining us at an ungodly time of 4 AM in the morning. So thank you very much for joining us.
It's now 5 AM, so we're doing well.
Jeez. Same time next year?
Same time next year. Book it in.
Fantastic. There we go. I've already got a booking, Luke, so you can't complain. In 11 months' time, we're like, we haven't got a guest. We have a guest next year's Melbourne Cup preview. Michael, we'll see you at Christmas, and then we'll see you again probably next year for the Melbourne Cup preview. Thank you very much for watching. We will be back on Friday, and very quickly, I need to apologise for Friday's video. I don't know what on earth happened with gremlins in Google Plus and YouTube. We recorded